Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
So you had asked me about you had asked me what the theme for the month was. So
how did you come to Deceiver? Because I'll be honest, because when I signed on to this movie, I signed on to it because of the cast. Solely the cast, because I was like, well, all right, I enjoy most of these people.
I would say I enjoy all of these people.
I guess, I do enjoy all of these people. But I don't remember what else was in this month.
It was a massive grab bag of things, because the way this month came about, I think I mentioned it on the last episode even, is I was getting to the point where November was going to be just like burned out from October, which I think everybody, whatever. Oh my God, so many spooky movies. Yeah, hold my feet to the fire to watch horror movies, please, for fuck's sake.
I watch them all year round. It's not
right. Exactly. But I was thinking like, okay, so I just got on Wikipedia and I just started looking at movies, looking at people's filmographies, clicking on movies I'd never heard of. Lo and behold, I got to Harry and Tonto, which is what we talked about last week. And then I started playing essentially 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but with just other actors. So can you tell me what actress was in Harry and Tonto that is in this movie?
I'm going to guess Renee Zellweger.
No, Ellen Burstyn, a very young Ellen Burstyn in that movie, because that came out in the 70s. So I probably should have told you when it came out, given the age of Ellen Burstyn, or at least what she looks like in this movie.
Fair.
But yes.
And to be honest, there are very few women in this movie, so it was kind of a 50-50 shot there, unknown people. So
yeah, you had like one other option, Rosanna Arquette. Like that's really it. But that's how I came to Deceiver. And yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, the cast alone is something to worth giving a look at. But on this episode of the Kulturecast, much to the chagrin of many, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, true crime, that is. Heyo. They are one of the hosts of the true crime, supernatural, paranormal podcast that I like to call Scary Stories We Tell. Your friend and mine, Jess Byard.
Hello, everybody.
It has been quite some time since you've been on a Kulturecast.
It has. I'm excited.
It's been July of this year. My own private Idaho.
All right, so I'm still within the year.
I mean, fair. But what's funny is, you talk about somebody's shows like the Projection Booth, like Mike White's show. He doesn't have the same people on Sometimes they're like one time a year type thing.
Because he books out years in advance.
Well, that's what I did for 2023. So I know what I'm getting into next year. But
yeah, but can you imagine? But like setting up that many interview podcasts, though, like we don't strictly do interview podcasts on Scary Stories.
We don't. No. But to your point, if I knew a year ahead of time what I was doing a year from now, I'd be able to prepare for that interview a lot better because I'd probably be recording the interview today. I mean, that's the thing that's nice. Like any of those podcasts that I have planned for next year, I could record them whenever because everybody's already signed up. Everybody's said, okay, everybody's already on board. So, I don't do it that way. I normally record, one day and edit the next and out the next day, essentially. So like a 48-hour turnaround. But that's because I don't plan very well. But I plan very well for next year. So we'll see if this carries over. But Deceiver is now the second movie that we're going to be talking about in this kind of new planning system that I'm trying. And yeah, it's a random movie. There was no intent
it really
behind
is.
it. Yeah. So let's talk about 1997's Deceiver, otherwise known as in the UK, if you're a UK listener, Liar, which is a worse title somehow.
You met a girl on the path you knew. You had a brief conversation. You continued on. You never saw her again.
That's all that happened.
It's a lie detector test, Willa. Everybody gets a little nervous on these things.
One man suspected of murder.
We have relatively few leads at the moment, except for a phone number found in a dead girl's pocket. Your phone number, Mr. Whelan.
Two cops trying to find the truth.
What are you not telling us?
Well, there's a lot of things I'm not telling you.
But as the machine keeps running,
Prevents seizures. I'm an epileptic alcoholic, but I'm not a liar.
People with temporal lobe epilepsy make your skin crawl for a reason. If you think he's being seized, don't turn your back on him.
the tables keep turning.
You think I don't know about both of you? I am rich.
I know you got a gambling problem.
Guys like you don't bet on long shots and win.
I'd be careful if I were you. You come looking, you might not like what you find.
Deceiver, a Pate Brothers film.
So the film is directed by Jonas and Josh Pate, the Pate brothers, who, if you've never heard of them, I had neither. And it stars a bunch of people that you have heard of. Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Ellen Burstyn, Renee Zellweger, a hair-having Michael Rooker. Michael Parks is in there for literally like 2 seconds. Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah.
And what is the movie about? Well, two cops, Detective Phil Braxton, played by Chris Penn, and Detective Ed Kennesaw, played by Michael Rooker, are doing polygraph tests on Tim Roth, who is a textile heir who may or may not have murdered a prostitute played by Renee Zellweger. And her body was cut in 2 pieces and found on different sides of town. And James Wayland, who's played by Tim Roth, is the prime suspect. And let's just say the tables may or may not get turned on the cops, unbeknownst to them. Who knows? It's a very complicated movie. We're going to talk spoilers because I'm not even sure I knew what was going on by the end of it. I think I have an idea. But Jess, obviously, you and I never seen this movie. So I will turn the floor over to you. What did you think watching Deceiver for the first time?
All right. So you said it's a very random movie, and I say yes, but it's also a very like 90s movie. And I don't mean that in like, it's like 90s in aesthetic and like language and stuff like that. But it's just, it's an independent movie that could only exist in this time period. Yeah.
Well, and to your point, like in the 90s, we've talked about it. And I think it could be an entire podcast, even the fucking just overwhelming amount of indie films in the 90s, primarily due to
with big names.
Yeah. Well, and that's due to one fucking director's one fucking successful movie that happens to star one of the actors in this movie, 2 of them even, one kind of a main player. Yeah. Michael Parks. So that person is fucking Tarantino. This movie doesn't exist without Quentin Tarantino. Even just the way that it's made doesn't, like the way that it exists. And this comes out in 97. So, yeah. But it's not a surprise Chris Penn is in this movie, given what he was in 92 that kind of elevated him.
Playing the same character.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
That Chris Penn plays
in everything
all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
In everything you've ever seen him in, some variation of this character.
Yeah, pretty much.
A chatty slob, essentially.
Yeah.
That can't help but get himself in trouble. But anyway, what did I think of Deceiver? Okay, so this, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed it as like just a fun, like kind of cat and mouse, interesting, I don't want to say non-linear, but we'll say unreliable narrator, storytelling. I really enjoyed that until everything kind of falls apart in the last act to a very silly degree. And it just kind of peters out. And at the end, you know, I was left feeling like, okay, well, that was a movie, I guess. It was a really entertaining, and I don't mean entertaining as in like fun movie, because Tim Roth is his character, Wayland, is absolutely one of the most obnoxious characters I have ever encountered in film. He is a rich boy with mommy and daddy issues who spends all his money on hookers and drugs and alcohol, because he also has temporal lobe epilepsy, which is a very big thing throughout this movie, which causes him to act awry and do strange things and black out and not remember any of it. And throughout the entire thing, it's primarily set, you know, within the police interrogation room. And he's just analyzing Kennesaw and Braxton. And it's just like, he just plays smarmy fantastically. So I enjoyed watching this movie up until it just kind of, I don't know, man, it just turns into a really weird, they do a thing where they decide all of a sudden that all of the characters are going to be connected to each other in some way out of kind of nowhere and with no real lead up, especially when it comes to Kennesaw, which we'll talk later. But they do that and it becomes like a giant cop out, and then it makes everything very unbelievable based on the reality that they had set up prior in the movie.
Oh boy. Put myself in hot water with this one. Because this movie is a stage play. Like it is a 3-man show that you could take all the other parts.
Yeah, we say Renee Zellweger is in this, and she is, but it's not a character. She's just a fixture she's the dead girl, you know, like that happens right off the bat. She's never in the movie alive. She is the dead girl. The only bits we see of her are what Tim Roth is telling us, and then later in some videotape. But it is just the 3-man band with good leads. You know what
I was saying? It's kind of crazy too, because this is Renee Zellweger, 1990 post Jerry Maguire Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, again, this movie had to have been filmed before that one, because you have Renee Zellweger effectively doing nothing in this movie. I get Ellen Burstyn is doing nothing.
She's walking around being wispy.
Like Renee Zellweger is wont to do, as they would say. But it's weird. This is a stage play, clearly, because it really does just take place between Wayland, Braxton, and Kennesaw, the 2 cops and their suspect. Most of the movie is just about them and how they're interacting with each other.
And a lot of talking.
Yeah, Ellen Burstyn's there for a minute. Michael Parks is there for a minute. But ultimately they could be characters that you're just referring to off screen, or you're saying, well, I went and did this, or like 3 lines of dialogue is all any of those characters really need.
Right.
So all that out of the way, somebody, when they came up with this idea, and it's the Pate brothers, who have not done a whole lot else. What else have they done? Okay. Like a couple things that I've never heard of: The Take from 2007, Shrink from 2009. They're producers on a fair amount of TV. One of them directed an episode of Iron Fist, which, that's great.
All right.
I think they were also very heavily involved. Do you remember that show in 1516, the David Duchovny show where he's like a cop in the 60s and he's chasing after Manson?
Yes, Aquarius.
Yeah, they directed a bunch of that. They directed some episodes of Caprica as well. But
I wanted to like that show so bad. I wanted that show to be so good, and it was so not.
Yeah, I never watched it, but it also didn't get more than 1 season, so it kind of felt like I knew what I was getting into at that point. But
well, we have this other show,
right? But they did create a show in the early 2000s called Good versus Evil, GVE, which ran for 2 seasons, and I guess it was inspired by films like Pulp Fiction and its approach to blaxploitation films and kind of that genre, or kind of like aping that genre. And I guess they helped create the Outer Banks show that was on Netflix in 2020.
Sure.
But you know what? I've nothing that stands out to me, or that's like, oh, haven't you seen this? Seems like the thing that you'd be like, haven't you seen this one movie where half of the actors are now in much bigger things, doing
right,
or dead, for fucking that matter.
Arguably,
Jesus
we're already
Christ.
Doing bigger things.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, Renee Zellweger before this movie is doing Jerry Maguire. Tim Roth 5 years before this is in Reservoir Dogs. 3 years before this in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Penn. I mean, again, normally the thing about something like this is the real reason I wanted to watch it is the cast. Like you mentioned, the cast is the huge draw here.
And look, I like chalky movies.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies is Glengarry Glen Ross, for fuck's sake. That comes out like a couple years before this even. So
it is all talk, but it's great because, and which is also, I mean, that is literally a stage play.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And but with that, you have to have the talent to pull it off, and this movie does. It's the directing choices that have been made and some of the writing choices that have been made that really throw this movie off at the end. In the third act, effectively, is where everything kind of just disintegrates into ridiculousness.
Well, and the other issue kind of just right when you open the movie is, okay, so the setup's interesting. You've got the 2 cops and you've got the kind of the shithead, yuppie rich kid. Great premise. Perfect premise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board. But
it's New York. It's nice. It's whatever.
It shows its hand way too quickly. It shows its hand so fast. It's like the movie wants you to know where it is going before it even starts going there, because they introduce Ellen Burstyn's character pretty quickly on. They introduce that Chris Penn has some sort of axe hanging over his head. They don't introduce that Kennesaw does, which I think one of the few smart decisions that the movie makes is kind of holding back on that twist. But when we get to what that twist is, it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, it comes out of fucking left field, passes by, and is essentially unresolved, unless your interpretation of the ending is different than mine, which, to be fair, it frankly could be, because this movie, on top of everything else, is one of those movies that has a bunch of twists, and instead of explaining it, which I don't need it explained all the time, any more than you do, I'm sure, it's one of those movies that has a bunch of twists and explains nothing. Just nothing. It's like, hey, don't you understand?
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Understand what happened? It's like, well, because it's so unexplained or kind of a weak explanation or weak inference, I guess, it could go any direction. And while that's fine, it doesn't. This isn't that kind of movie. I'm not sure I care that much.
Not, it feels like it's not making a final resolve to like as a jab, like, haha, or it could be this.
Right.
And it doesn't feel genuine. And you don't like to leave certain things unresolved. Like generally there's a reason for that. There's a structural in the story narrative reason for that. It's part of themes. Oh, hold on a shit. Jesus Christ, Spock, are you all right? He attached himself to my book bag and then took off running and it was still attached. Are you good?
Let me go.
To make sure his claw wasn't like fucked up. I told you to stop doing that. Anyway, it doesn't feel genuine. It just feels kind of like, or it could be this, like an alternate ending kind of thing when we get to the, very, very end.
Well, and the movie tries to have this like giant moment. It's like, and here's our big denouement. And it's like, but you haven't earned it. Not only have you not earned it, you haven't given me much of a reason to care about the characters, because that's the other issue here. And I think it's kind of a big issue. Yes, this movie has Tim Roth and Chris Penn and Ellen Burstyn and Michael Rooker, but they're all so unbelievably unlikable and so flat as characters that
they are, and they're so flat to the point that at the beginning of the movie they do this thing where once each main character, the three guys, are shown and their characters are introduced, they do a freeze frame and do a nice little typewriter-y effect of their age, who they are, their age, their occupation, their IQ, because that matters. I mean,
in this kind of hard-boiled noir story, it does.
Yeah, this is a cat and mouse story between Tim Roth and the cops, and like Tim Roth's character trying to get under their skin because yes, he went to Ivy League school. He is incredibly smart. He's also like a chronic liar and an alcoholic, and he's fucking with the cops the entire time. But which, yay, fine. I'm down for that dynamic, but Tim Roth's character sucks. Yeah. Wayland is just like the shittiest of shitheads. And even the little bits that they try to throw in about his parents and like his very shitty relationship he has with his dad, I still don't care. Because even his dad, who is a terrible person, even him at the end, like halfway through the movies, is like, you've had so much privilege and you've done nothing with it. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't. And I don't care to like him. And then the other two they do their little typewriter shit. And that's what they are. We go no further really into their character beyond the kind of very stereotypical, obvious developments. But other than that, they are also very bland and, dirty cops at that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, again, like you just mentioned, there's no nuance to the characters. And because there's no nuance, it operates on, well, there's going to be a twist. There's going to be some left turn here that you're not going to see coming. It's going to be crazy and you're going to be floored. And it's like, no. You've got to give me a reason to care about these characters because a twist is not enough. We talked about this when we talked about the M. Night Shyamalan movies last month. The best kinds of twists don't get in the way of the story that's told. It just helps recontextualize some of the things you've seen. And
it makes everything click into place. Like once you think about it, you're like, oh, it's not just there to be like, gotcha. You're dumb. You didn't see
it. There's one angle out of place, and by knowing what the twist is, that angle kind of makes sense now. Why was it like that? Well, the twist makes sense.
There's like a term within, mystery writing at rules, essentially, when you're writing a mystery. I forget what it is, but a mystery that the ending, like once it is solved, if it doesn't like actually click with the rest of the story, there's a specific term for that, but it's like they basically are posing as like, if the reader is reading this, they enjoy mysteries and they want to be able to solve them, or at least they want to try to be able to solve them. And if you throw something at them at the end that has no real, there was no real story heading toward that, you feel cheated, because it's just like, well, okay, I guess that's the ending you can choose. But it seems they make this whole deal at the end of things being out of character for people to do. And they do that within the script with Michael Rooker's character, who, yes, it is believable that he would be a brutish man. It is his
he's Henry the serial killer, for fuck's sake. Like, I mean, Michael Rooker is cast in this movie for a specific reason, is he not? Right. It's not a surprise that Michael Rooker is in this movie doing the Michael Rooker thing, right?
But the character of Kennesaw, sure, I have spoilers. His wife has an affair and he doesn't take it well, and he has a very, overbearing attitude and all of that. And that's fine. That's great. I get that he's like he's this hard ass kind of cop. But when they, in the third act, decide to introduce that he also knew Renee Zellweger, because he happened to visit the same exact, very high class, very pricey prostitute that Tim Roth's character had visited. And because she was similar looking to his wife, he played out this brutal fantasy and, maybe killed her.
He killed her, right? What's your perception? What is your perception of what happened?
Yes, I think he killed her because I think the post whatever 1 year thing is some bullshit tag on that they were like, ooh, add this on real quick. And I'm not counting it as canon.
I can explain the tag at the end. The way I perceived what happened in this movie is, like you mentioned, Michael Rooker's character knew Renee Zellweger. There's footage of him, Tim Roth springs it on him. He's like, I've got this tape here that you should play. And of course, they put it in and they're all three sitting there. And all of a sudden there's Michael Rooker and there's Renee Zellweger. And he said he didn't know who she was. So it's totally a lie. So you can't trust this guy now. So Kennesaw kills Renee Zellweger. Then he scoots out of wherever she is. Then Tim Roth has the worst timing known to man. He just walks in and he's like, oh, fuck, she's dead. And he's out the door.
Well, because he went out for smokes or whatever and then decided to come back.
All right. So she's dead. He's like, okay, I will not be able to convincingly swear my innocence or be found innocent.
Because he was there earlier. So his prints are everywhere.
Right. So I'm going to cut her body in half, stow it in the city somewhere, because that is less believable that I could do that than if I had just told the cops I came back and she was dead. The cops would railroad me, even though he's rich and could have more money than sense to mount a fucking defense. But whatever, fine. Whatever.
There's
movie.
No doubt about that.
Why make him rich if that's not going to factor into it? Okay, so then it turns out that
so he can pay off the other cops' debts.
Right. So he's rich, but he also pays off Chris Penn's debt because
to get him to let him go. To be like, hey, I did you a favor and I proved that your partner is a liar, so you're going to let me go now.
Sure.
But the thing is we've already alluded. So here's the big thing. Earlier in the first act, we get an interrogate where they're doing not an interrogation because they don't want to be stressful. They're doing a polygraph test. And they ask him if he's ever told a malicious lie. So not like a white lie or whatever. And he goes into this story about how he was dating this girl in college and it never got past the kissing part. And it always used to drive him nuts. And one night they were fooling around and they were really drunk and she passed out. And so he decided to start feeling her up. Trigger warning for this, by the way. Trigger warning. But he starts feeling her up. She's passed out and doesn't stop him. And he says outright that he ends up having sex with her and then never tells her. And then she starts having weird dreams because she feels like something weird happened, but she can't remember it. And I'm like, so I'm not going to go further into it. But essentially he admit to raping someone, 2 cops.
And also admits that he got away with it.
And breeze the fuck on by, which I don't know. Maybe that's like, well, we can't focus on that crime because it's this crime, but blah, 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 blah. But they don't even blink. Like, it is not a problem for them. So we are introduced pretty early that these cops are either real dumb, which, I mean, we saw their IQs.
I was going to say, they show their IQs,
dumb,
Jess. Come on.
Yeah, they're not dumb. I mean, you know, like, they're not geniuses, but they're not, you know, below average IQ, obviously. But he just, throughout this whole polygraph situation, even before Kennesaw, like, if the tape had been revealed earlier on, and not revealed as so blatantly as it is, but like if Kennesaw found out, he knew. And then we started to get progressively more aggressive with him and dirty cop, essentially. Then I could buy Michael Rooker's character straight up by killing her. Now, I think that is what they're implying. I think he did kill her, but if for his character, not Michael Rooker's, you know, Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer appearance,
right? His
character of Kennesaw, it just seems so, again, out of character that he would actually full on commit this murder. I don't, and especially with this stupid rage fantasy. Like, I buy that he would maybe be like abusing his wife. Yes, which we do see. We do get like a window into his life where he's very, very cold and demanding. And I could see it going like in that way. But it just seemed too convenient that he too would visit the same high-class hooker by chance that Tim Roth did. Like, if maybe we had set up that like Kennesaw was setting up Tim Roth's character for some reason, like they knew each other before, or he knew he was seeing Renee Zellweger. I don't know. Anything. But it just seems so strange to me, and it just does not work for me, story-wise, setup-wise, character-wise.
Well, all of it rests on the character of Tim Roth, because he knew about Kennesaw, so he is going to make sure that Kennesaw pays, because he assumes that Kennesaw is the one who murdered Renee Zellweger, because he found the tape. But he doesn't kill her on the tape. I mean, that's the thing. No. He's not murdering her on the tape. The tape is just so you can understand, and so the characters can understand he knew her. We never see how she dies, period.
That they just, like, Chris Penn just, like, sits there the whole fucking time this tape plays. And, like, just, like...
There's no reaction whatsoever.
No reaction. There would have been, you know, like, stop the tape, stop the tape, stop the tape. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there's no confrontation between them. There's nothing. Like, it just feels so... And now we're watching this. And now this is going to happen.
Well, and nothing comes of it either. I mean, that's the thing about the climax of this movie. So by the time we're at the end of the movie, we know that Michael Rooker knew who she was. We know that Chris Penn's debt has been erased by Tim Roth with Ellen Burstyn, because again, he wants to I don't know. Again, the justification is tenuous at best.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They never do explain how he knows so much about them, because as far as we're concerned, as far as the timeline, he never leaves this interrogation room this whole movie. No. They are in that timeline that we're watching with them. That's the whole movie. Now we go out of that timeline when we are hearing the stories that they're telling and getting windows into people's lives. But Tim Roth does not leave that polygraph office for like a night and then come back. Oh wait, no, he does.
It's only 2 nights though. I mean, it's literally the first scene of the movie. Then we have some kind of stuff that happens outside, and then the next scene in the next time they interrogate or do the polygraph. Right. That's it. I mean, then the movie effectively ends.
Like, how does he know all of this stuff about them?
Ellen Burstyn's character is Deus Ex Mook, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's what it feels like, because you have these scenes where Tim Roth is like, you know, it's those kind of reveal scenes where he's like, well, I went and got the absinthe from her, and I went and paid off your debts, and and here's some people that are working with her that are going to come back at some point later. So by the end of the movie, Michael Rooker's character knew Renee Zellweger, but he didn't mention it. Chris Penn's had his debt erased, and Tim Roth is essentially saying, well, there was nothing I could do to convince them I was innocent, so the best thing I can do is make myself look more guilty. So he cuts up Renee Zellweger's body, dumps it across town, and then essentially goes to both of them, I know who killed her. It was Kennesaw, but I can't prove it. So there you go. And then he takes pills that they allude are like, you know, it's no surprise that Harry Gregson Williams does the music for this movie, given he did the music for another IP that uses the pill that you can kill yourself with, but's not actually dead. Harry Gregson Williams worked on all of the Metal Gear Solid from 2 on music, which is a spy video game that utilizes a fake death pill, because in this, Tim Roth uses a fake death pill to fake his death. And we can discuss why. My take on the way the movie ended is Tim Roth knows he can't do anything about Kennesaw, so he pretends to kill himself so that the only suspect, at least per the cops, is dead. And then a year later comes back and he actually murders someone and kills her and plants her body as a, not a red herring, but as a way to reopen the Renee Zellweger case and get Kennesaw caught, because
wow, that's what you got from that?
That's my take. It's a see what I mean? Like, it's a fucking stretch, but it's not really a stretch. But again, it also comes down to how unreliable of a narrator is Tim Roth, because you can believe him or not. But I feel like the movie's stance is that we should believe Tim Roth, because the movie's going to have to take a stand one way or another by what it presents us. And the fact that they have Tim Roth pretending to kill himself, and then they've, you know, got all of Ellen Burstyn's goons that show up, you know, they like in the X-Files, it's not actually the ambulance, it's the fake ambulance. Right,
which is, to me, I'm like, how did that, like, how? It's
lazy. It's
why?
very lazy. Like, screenwriting laziness.
It's like, and they're just all of a sudden the EMTs. And I'm like, how did that happen? How did the police call instead? Like, and I guess it's the mob. Like, is that's
she's
what it is?
She's a fixer or a cleaner. Ellen Burstyn's character is like so many other characters. Yeah. But she's one of those characters we've seen in all kinds of stuff where she's like Mr. Wolf, right? From Pulp Fiction. Like, you call him or her in this case to come and fix your problems or help set people up, I guess.
I'm like, but like, why would she help him? I mean, I guess he paid, so whatever. She's gonna do whatever for money. I guess that's why.
She works for the highest bidder is kind of was my take.
And so I think
you think my take is my take wrong? Is mine just like a hell of a fucking, is it reaching?
I think it could be reaching, because I feel like, okay, so the reason I think that Michael Rooker's character, what they are really heavily implying is that he did kill Renee Zellweger, whether I like it or not.
Right.
But the reason I feel this is because the reaction of his character is so strong to get rid of Tim Roth after that is revealed, that why would he's the king of polygraph tests. They give him as like a 92% success rate. If he truly didn't kill Renee Zellweger, he's a cop. He has all of the protection on his side. So if he didn't kill her, he wouldn't be worried about it in that capacity. If he didn't kill her, he wouldn't be worried about it in the polygraph capacity. And if he didn't kill her, he would have laughed in Tim Roth's face and been like, you're a fucking idiot. Instead of, what we get is a Russian roulette game where he empties bullets out of his gun, puts one in, and gives Tim Roth 3 chances, or whatever chances to admit to the crime, or I'm going to blow your brains out and claim self-defense because I'm triggering one of your epileptic episodes, where earlier in the movie, they warn you don't touch people in those states because they can have an adverse reaction. And he does, and he beats the shit out of Michael Rooker. So he's hoping to do this again to make it look like self-defense. And I'm like, this is such an elaborate thing. A, it's happening in the police station, mind you. B, what, like, if he is threatening to blow someone's head off in the middle of the polygraph room, in the middle of the police station, I think he probably killed her. My take on the 1 year later with Tim Roth coming back is I thought it was just stupid, lazy gotcha writing, where they just didn't really have a reason for it other than, haha, you didn't see this coming.
Let me put it this way. If my interpretation is correct, it's not like it makes this movie some fucking great thing. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't, frankly.
But you do give it a reason.
Sure, but at the same time, I'm giving it a reason. Me, maker of the podcast.
You're giving it a fan theory.
Yeah, which it doesn't deserve in a lot of ways, because it really is just.
Man, now I kind of want to look and see if there's any like Deceiver like hardcore fans who are.
Well, I'm sure that there are, but
they're discussing this.
Yeah, they're all 5 of them on the internet screaming at one another. I don't know. I guess I just don't understand the thinking, the mindset here, because it feels like you mentioned, when the movie kind of comes to its climax and Tim Roth dies, or Tim Roth is dead, whether or not he's actually died. Presumed dead. Took the magic plot device pills that kill you magically.
No, they put you in a coma.
Right. I guess when he comes back, yeah, he's going to frame Kennesaw by committing a murder. So
because right, you're still killing someone.
Right. And cutting them in half. Like, and that's what I don't understand, because then by the end of the movie, none of the characters are likable. None of the characters are worth rooting for. None of the characters have given you a moment to think, okay, even if you are an unreliable narrator, I'm curious to see where your story takes you. By the end of it, like you said, I feel like most of the people who watched this movie in 97, when the 1 year later happens, they were like the same as yourself. Like, what the fuck? Because again, Tim Roth comes back and there's a prostitute in the park, and she's like, do you want to have some fun? And he's like, that's the idea. And it's like, da-da-da-bup. Like, what the fuck? Like, what?
There are some cartoonish fucking moments in this movie, man.
Well, anything with Michael Rooker pointing a gun at someone's head and just screaming at them.
From Tim Roth, though. Like,
that's
his
fair.
Outlandish, just like, I guess he is a pathological liar. He's an alcoholic. He's probably a sociopath. There's really no emotion or anything going on there.
Tim Roth is a way better actor. Even at doing this, that's the fucking annoying thing about this movie, is Tim Roth is a fantastic actor. By 95, he had already been nominated for an Academy Award. Again, whatever that is value has to anybody else, for a movie that
in the 90s, it was still a pretty big deal.
Right. I mean, that's a good movie. Rob Roy is a good movie. He's got Liam Neeson in it and
especially
Jessica
for
Lange.
Independent movies.
Yeah. But if you look at Tim Roth in something like, I don't know, Reservoir Dogs, which came out in 92, or Pulp Fiction, which came out in 94, or the movie that is one of my favorite movies that he's in, the film adaptation of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, you can see the range of this guy as an actor. And then you come to this movie and he is given nothing. He's given nothing to do. They're just like, you know what, Tim, just go act crazy. But the problem with Tim Roth acting crazy is, even when he's acting crazy, his crazy is better when it's, you don't know what this guy is going to do. Not this guy is telling you how crazy he is. Because it's just, he doesn't have that kind of energy as an actor.
He's like Holden Caulfield, like times 20.
In this?
Yeah. Just like that character, just amped up, like snarky. And it's nice. It's fun to watch. He does it really well. But like, there are moments in this movie where like he just is telling stories, and he's just done, like the whole scene and where his very rich parents, who are very disappointed in him, we've been told many times at this point in the movie, brings Renee Zellweger to their fancy party, and they're both trashed. And of course she's like a hooker, and so she doesn't really know how to act, although she's also supposed to be a very high class hooker. And I should not be saying hooker. It just occurred to me.
The movie says hooker a lot, so it's not your fault. It's not your fault. The movie says hooker.
But so she is like a high class escort, and you think that like she would be used to being in an environment like this. So again, it's just a lot of it feels very lazy, because it falls into stereotypes and tropes that we've seen and that are very predictable and just become not fun to watch. That
we've seen in various styles of media, not just movies, but books. Because this movie really, I would go as far as to say this movie probably would have worked better as a book. Or like a
I think it would work better as a play,
or like a Tales from the Crypt episode or something. Because again, it
does feel like a Tales from the Crypt episode.
It does in this like kind
certain sequences of scenes do.
Yeah, and especially the kind of like showing of what was going on stuff that feels right out of Tales from the Crypt. And what's funny is Tim Roth is in Tales from the Crypt 6 years before this in a
that's true
not great episode. I don't know. Do you remember the episode?
Else?
Do you remember the episode he's in?
I'm sure I do.
Tell me what it is. Kill Ya, where he plays.
Yes, I do.
He plays the artist who's trying to. Is he using people's blood for his paintings? Yes. Yeah, and then he kills then there's a stupid fucking twist at the end of that one is just as bad as the twist at the end of this.
Yeah. Okay, well now if we frame it as a Tales from the Crypt episode, it's a little better.
But that's the thing. It doesn't have, I guess, to be fair, as Father Malone and I will go on the record. Well, there are plenty of love triangles. There are plenty of non-supernatural paranormal episodes of Tales from the Crypt. And there are plenty of Tales from the Crypt episodes that waste talented actors on really bad performances. And this movie, what's sad is this movie does have a very good cast. Like on paper, the cast is great. On paper, the idea is great. It is kind of a noir adjacent film, neo-noir even.
I would say it's a neo-noir. And I do as far as like the way it looks. I like the way it's looked. Like I like the actual craft of the cinematography. And I like the fun, retelling of stories where he's at one point, he's telling a story about he and Renee Zellweger walking through the park, and he's retelling what she's saying. And so we're hearing him tell it to the cops, but we see her response in that time. And it's great because at a certain point, like he's telling the truth because she's saying exactly what he's saying. And then she says something like, "Do you have a cigarette?" And he says, "She asked if I wanted to have a drink," or something like that. So you get to see like where the unreliable narrator actually pops in. And I liked that. I wanted more of that. Like I liked, again, like I really enjoyed the first, honestly, the first two acts. It was really just the third act where everything falls apart for me.
Well, and to your point, I mean, the cinematography is by Bill Butler, who has worked on, Jaws, One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest, all of the Rocky movies. It's a symptom of the mid to late 2000s indie movie craze that this movie got made. And there are worse movies that came out at the time than this. I mean, there are plenty of movies that just stink on ice. I think I'm not willing to put this movie in that camp only because, like you've said, for the most part, it's decent. But
this is a movie I would say, like if you're like chilling at home on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and it's rainy out and you got nothing to do, there are far worse movies you could be wasting your time on than this one.
Yeah, I will say this movie is damn near impossible to find for the most part. It's not on any streaming services. It's not on Tubi. It's not on anything. It is an MGM film. So that means a big studio does theoretically have it and could do something with it. I don't think they would. It's one of these things where
nobody cares enough, I guess, probably.
Yeah, I guess, Michael Rooker has gone on to do much better things. Even, again, before this, he was doing better things. Like you already mentioned, at the time, he was doing better things. For fuck's sake, this is 2 years after Mallrats comes out, where he's fantastic in Mallrats. This is, only a couple years removed from something even like Cliffhanger. So I don't know. I don't know what the Pate brothers were thinking other than we really like quiet noir movies that have a Rashomon style retelling kind of component. Because again, the unreliable narrator thing can be fun, just not here. When the character that's the unreliable narrator is such an unrepentant asshole, written in such a broadly asshole-ish way, I don't want anything to do with him, the narrator of the story, the main character of the story. Right. And then by the end of it, it's like, well, is he just murdering people to frame someone else? Because then, what is the goddamn point of this story?
Yeah, I mean, because we are left where, like, after Wayland is presumed dead and taken away, we get a little epilogue with the cops that Braxton, though he was very close to promotion, we hear twice, asks for a transfer because he doesn't want to work with Kennesaw anymore. So Kennesaw's still there. at the precinct, obviously, because nothing happened. Nobody learned anything outside of that room. And so there's really no resolve with them either. Like Braxton, like whose debts have been paid and everything, could have taken the high road and like revealed some things, but does not, just ask for a transfer, and then Kennesaw stays. So there's no real positive resolve for anyone. And so if we're supposed to buy that, if your theory is correct, or if it's somewhere in the vein of correct, that he's come back to try and like stir shit again against Kennesaw, I just feel like nobody would care enough, right? Like
Renee Zellweger getting killed in this movie is not like the end of a crime spree or something. This is like an isolated incident. It just happens to involve all these kind of absurdly intricate, complex moving parts that are all moving so far off of screen, so fuzzy to us that we have to have characters not explain them just one time, but 2 or 3 times at that.
Right.
It's like, Jesus, movie, come on. Like, oh my Lord. Yeah, it's trying to be clever. It's trying to be funny. It's trying to be narratively interesting. And I think it could have used 1 or 2 or 3 more passes. This is a very rough idea, right? Like rough as rough can be.
Yeah, it's very rough, and it's a little too, I think, ambitious as a storytelling for what they, look, their cast is ambitious. Their cinematographer is ambitious. They probably had this very ambitious idea, and they probably got the money and the cast really fast and just started going at it. And I think if they had and who knows, I have no idea how many drafts this movie actually was, but I just feel like it needed to be tighter in spots. It needed to really reflect on its characters and be like, realize that, who's the protagonist? I guess Wayland, but he's an antagonist.
Right.
At his core. They all are. And so when
there's no likable characters in this movie.
Other than Renee Zellweger, and she's only likable on a very basic way, and that she was murdered. So obviously.
Right. We don't know enough about her to really not feel bad for her.
She's just there. She's done nothing wrong, nothing good. Like she's done nothing, literally nothing. So there's no feelings other than, that sucks, you got murdered. Like, and then also cut in half after you got murdered by someone else.
Cut in half, but with a kitchen knife by Tim Roth.
Oh, that was the other thing that I wanted because I wanted to touch on that, just to make a comment of like, he goes through this whole thing of like, I went and found the biggest knife I could find, which is essentially the Michael Myers kitchen knife.
12-inch chef
knife. This is not a Halloween supernatural world we live in this movie. This is Tim Roth, who is, if you're familiar with him, is not a gigantic man. There's no way he cut an entire body in half with a kitchen knife in one go.
I don't know. Jeffrey could do it. Why couldn't Tim?
I guess you know what? I guess it depends on what half you mean. If you cut through the middle, I guess that's. But I pictured.
Did you think he cut her down?
Yeah.
You thought he cut her like that? No, that would be funny.
That's what my brain.
He cut her in half vertically. What is this, Hannibal Lecter? Are you serious? Your mind went to this?
My mind went vertically, yeah.
A vertical bisection as opposed to a horizontal bisection. Okay, you would have to cut her skull in half. You do know that.
I know. That's why I didn't think the knife would work.
You've been hanging out with those hobbits down in the Shire too much. That long bottom leaf's getting to you. That's funny. Yeah, I assumed. It's got to be her top half and her bottom half. But even then, God damn, dude. I got the biggest knife that I could.
And you cleaned up the whole apartment?
Well, he put her in a tub. He put her in that giant claw-footed tub so that the blood drained out,
Fair.
It's all very just kind of, and then. They don't let you sit with any of the characters long enough. They don't let you sit with anything that's going on. They don't even really, again, it almost feels like the movie doesn't really care about the characters, because by the end of it, you don't even see
too
Michael
much
Rooker.
on building up the twist.
Yeah, the twists are built up, and then when the spring is let go, when all that stored energy is let go, it just kind of goes. like the sad trombone noise. This movie is very much the sad trombone noise in film form because, by the end of it, it's like, look at the twist. Tim Roth is back and he's here. And isn't that crazy? It's like, what does that mean for him to be here?
We forgot about the characters.
Yeah. By the end of the movie,
we forgot about development.
Yeah, Tim Roth is here, but like you mentioned, but why? Because it's not made clear as to why. Was he the murderer? Was he not? And again, the fact that we don't know is not something that we ultimately care about, because the fact that we don't care about Tim Roth's character means by the end of the movie, I don't care what the twist was. I don't care that he's back in LA for whatever reason, or LA or New York, wherever the hell this movie takes place. How much of my patience are you really going to test movie with? Like,
there are multiple times throughout this movie where either lines are repeated or questions are repeated or whatever. And it just adds to the feeling of the lazy writing, where it's just like you're just recycling things, just trying to hurry everything along because you just want to get to the twist. Like, ooh, look what I've done, look what I did. And it's like, no, I don't care what you did, because like you said, there's no foundation for it to sit upon, really, that I care about.
Well, and the other thing that I don't really understand, even about the twist, is the point of the twist is what? To make us care about Tim Roth's character? No, because he's an asshole. Is it to make us hate Michael Rooker's character? No, because he's also kind of already an asshole. Is it to have us worry for Chris Penn's safety because he's in a room with two psychos? Not really. Like, I don't. Again, I think you've mentioned it a couple times already, but I will reiterate it. This is a very muddle-headed movie with a twist that not only does it not land, it's flies over it. If you're trying to land the plane and you're this movie, you went over the runway and you landed in the water and everybody's drowning. Yeah. And it shows this. Nobody's talking about this movie in 2022. I'm sure if you were to talk to Tim Roth or Michael Rooker, what movie? I don't even remember that. And it won awards. It won Best Cinematography and Best Screenplay at the Stockholm Film Festival and Jury Prize at the Cognac Police Film Festival.
Well, and you know what? Who knows what happened in the, I know nothing about what happened in the post-production aspect of this movie. Maybe there were things that got left on the floor, or maybe, even the production aspect of this movie, the script changes so much from what a script starts as to what actually gets on camera. Like, it is usually vastly different. So
that's fair.
I don't know. Maybe the script is really good.
I don't know. Again, it's written and directed by. So they had a big hand.
Which guaranteed that means they sat in on their editing.
Right. And their editor is Dan Liebenthal, who is currently working primarily on Marvel movies. So yeah, again, everybody who's involved in this movie knows what they're doing. Maybe it's the writer-directors, because they have not done much else other than other people's TV shows. So we haven't heard much from them since. This was clearly attempting to be their kind of big coming out party in the 90s as kind of a force. I'm sure they thought that this was going to be their Pulp Fiction.
How was it received?
Dogs. Not well, shockingly. A lot of the reviews at the time are just like, this movie kind of crumbles under the weight of its own premise, or it's trying to be cute or clever, and it's not. There were some people that liked it. And then most other people also say, you kind of wasted all the actors that you have in the movie. But Owen Kleberman liked it. So can't figure out what he wrote, because it's no longer on Entertainment Weekly's website. Wonder why. But Owen Kleberman liked it, so... Roger Ebert didn't. I'm not sure I did. I would love to love this movie, because it would be nice to find a movie that's kind of a hidden gem, but this ain't it. this isn't it. So far.
You've seen movies like this. And that's the thing, right? With the glut of indie movies in the 90s, like, it is, it's just like watching horror movies, right? Where there's a million fucking horror movies and you can watch a ton of them and most of them are just going to be fine.
Right.
And a few of them are going to be great, and those are going to be the ones that you keep coming back to. And I have seen some of I like in 90s indie film as a concept, because there's so many different little tendrils that come off of it. And this is the style that I do like, that was, that came out of it. But yeah, unfortunately, I agree with whoever said it does crumble under the weight of its own premise.
There's so many movies in the 90s that were coming out like this. Another movie that I guarantee neither one of us have heard of, Keys to Tulsa. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Nope.
Featuring Eric Stoltz and James Spader and Mary Tyler Moore and Michael Rooker.
Wow, Mary Tyler Moore and Michael Rooker. That
and
is
James Spader and Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, but
90s,
the three
right?
guys make sense to me, but Mary Tyler Moore, okay.
So many of these movies were just...
And they're all just kind of slice of life. Like, a lot of them are very slice of life or small, quiet story.
Drama. Yeah. Like another Michael Rooker movie he was in. Bastard Out of Carolina, another film from the 90s, featuring Jennifer Jason Leigh, Dermot Mulroney, Michael Rooker, and Grace Zabriskie, and Christina Ricci. Never heard of it. Sounds like a 90s drama, you know?
Gonna have to do a Michael Rooker month.
God. Yeah, we'll just do Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. That's it. And then Suicide Squad. Otherwise known as Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Or wait, no. Yeah, he's in Slither, right?
Yeah, he plays the dickhead husband.
Yeah.
I love Michael Rooker.
Me too.
He does.
And he's a super nice guy.
Is he?
Yeah, I met him a few times in real life. He's just a really nice, just kind of cheerful guy.
I love when he does that, like the thing he does it a lot in Mallrats, where he's like gritting his teeth and talking. You're gonna get me. He does it in he does it better than any other actor. Like, he does angry assholes so well.
You hear him clearly.
Yeah, I hear him in my head doing it right now. There's a reason Kevin Smith cast him as the villain in Mallrats, and he's still one of the best. In a movie that I absolutely love, not the extended edition, which I watched by accident recently. My God, if you didn't know that was a thing, it's like a half an hour longer.
Good Lord. Why?
Not good.
No.
I don't know why, because I guess people want more Mallrats. It's a half an hour, including an alternate intro where they have the thing that they talk about where, like, the governor shows up and gets shot at. They filmed all of that. They have that. Yeah, I don't know what you would need it for, but even then, Kevin Smith fucking making movies in the 90s. Indie movies. It's the 90s are a weird time for movies, especially indie movies, because none of these movies would have gotten made without Tarantino's involvement in kind of creating a cottage industry for people like him to work in. I mean, he created the industry of indie movies. Him and Robert Rodriguez. I mean, and Kevin Smith.
And Kevin Smith, yeah.
Well, like, I think Tarantino, if even begrudgingly, it's Tarantino. And I don't like Tarantino, but I will begrudgingly admit and 100%
I mean,
agree.
you also have, like, people like Jim Jarmusch and Richard Linklater, who are also very active during this time.
Last time you were on this show, we talked about a 90s indie movie. Fucking Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho.
And Gus Van Sant.
That's an indie. That's a pretty big indie movie.
Oh God, yeah. That's one of the one of those standouts of the time.
Yeah,
at the time.
This, however, not one of the standouts, but apparently
this is very much a sleepy, what we would call a sleepy drama.
But apparently it was, because it did win. It did win several awards at places where people show movies. So. I don't know. Again, I don't know.
I won an award at a place where people show movies, and I don't feel like it's on the same time.
I have that poster hanging up in my house. How dare you speak
Me
ill
too.
of the cat? How dare you speak ill of your own accomplishment?
The inspiration is lying on my floor right now.
That's fair. That's fair. I like that. That's fair. Can't say that about many things, but you can about this. Final thoughts on Deceiver, a movie that I'm actually surprised we talked for an hour about.
I mean, yeah, I've said it throughout this, but it's good until it's not, or it's fun until it's not. But overall, you're not going to miss anything if you don't check it out.
Which is a shame. It feels like a shame. It feels like all the pieces are there.
If you're a completist of some of either like 90s indie movies or Tim Roth movies or Michael Rooker movies or Chris Penn movies or whatever, sure, watch it. But
I'm a completionist of Rosanna Arquette movies.
Right. That list is going to be a little shorter.
Yeah, it's about as short. Well, you say that, but go look at her fucking Wikipedia. My God. Yeah.
That's true. She does a lot of like really small roles.
She was in Billionaires Boys Club. Remember that movie?
No.
That was the one that came out right when Kevin Spacey was getting nailed to the cross rightfully. Yeah. It was about a bunch of guys in the 80s who were doing a Ponzi scheme. Sounds like a kind of movie I want to watch. No, I'm good.
So fun. Business crime.
Wolf of Wall Street. I liked that movie, said apparently a lot of people other than me. So, right. It's a movie. At least Deceiver's not 3 hours like Wolf of Wall Street. At least there's that.
True. That is true. This isn't the benefit of like 90s indie movies. They're like a cool 90-some minute long. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I'm obviously in the same camp as you. It's okay. It's not great. I think the movie really just starts to unravel the moment it's like, well, we're going to show you what cool things we've come up with to sort ourselves out of this little mess of a movie. And then they just make it worse. They not only make it worse, but they actively go out of their way to almost destroy any goodwill that the movie has garnered by the end of the movie. And I think that's the biggest shame is not only does the movie, like you've mentioned, fall apart in the third act, but it falls apart in a spectacularly stupid way because it's of their own creation.
It's very silly.
Yeah, it's of their own creation. I mean, it's not like studio notes. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is the movie that they wanted to make and they made it, and I don't know. I was disappointed, but not surprised because, again, never heard of this movie before. So if it was good, I feel like we would have heard about it by now. And we hadn't. Yeah. So speaking of movies I'd never heard of, let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the next Kulturecast of Grab Bag Month.
In 1940, the very rich came to Africa for fun and games. But after you've seen it all, after you've lived it all, after you've had it all, and each other, what comes next? What mischief?
You wouldn't, by any chance, have a chocolate-covered lobster?
From Columbia Pictures, rated R.
On the next Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about another movie that I guarantee you've never heard of because I'd never heard of it. It's called White Mischief. Yeah. And like I had mentioned,
white people.
As I mentioned, every movie this month has an actor from the previous movie in it or was linked to it in some form or fashion. I don't necessarily remember how this one was linked, but I will tell you this movie is an insane film featuring Charles Dance and Murray Head as well. And it's about, I think, two rich people go to Africa. And then there's I don't know. I know nothing about it. All I know is it's about two white people in Africa. And Heather Drain is joining me, which I'm always down for because I think we're going to have a good time. It is about a trial that took place in Africa involving rich white people. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I was making a joke when I said ordinary white people, but I evidently was not.
No, you were 100% right. So that's what we talk about on the next episode. Until then, Jess, if people were looking for you on the internet, where could people find you? Also, hey, want to mention cinematography by Roger Deakins of all people. So
wow,
not bringing their B game, bringing their A game. So until then, Jess, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at writer Jess Byard. You can find me on TikTok at the same handle, and you can find me on various episodes of this. You can find me on Scary Stories. You can find me pretty much anywhere.
As for me, weirdingwaymedia.com. Jess just mentioned all the places you can find Jess. I will mention the place where they will be undoubtedly able to be found. weirdingwaymedia.com. 19 shows, including this one, all over there at Weirding Way Media. I'm on some episodes. Jess is on some episodes. People that we've mentioned on this show, Mike White, The Projection Booth, Father Malone, The Dark Destinations. That's where you can find all that stuff and more episodes of this, because this is like episode 530 something, which is just until then, I always want to thank our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Kulturecast. That's where you can go to donate money, but like, rate, and review on iTunes. That's all you really have to do, because that's all that anybody should have to. I mean, I would love if you gave me money, I'm not gonna lie, but let's not kid ourselves and put our hands out even further than we need to without them getting slapped. So that's where you can go to find this show. That's where you can go to find us. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode.